guys? Dan, the bodybuilder here with my friend Elon, who was my friend in Thailand with me, uh, one of my first years there in Thailand. And he now lives back in America again. And we're going to discuss the state of American culture and politics. And we're also going to talk about Thailand a little bit. Elon, so you've been telling me while I was there, yo, things have got better since Trump became president. Tell me about it. Why were you telling me that?
Yeah, so when me and Dan were in Thailand together, it was the end of 2016, and that was before Trump got elected. So then he got elected while I was there, and then I came back into America with now a new president. So like before I left, things were different, and then after back, there was like a lot of turmoil going on after Trump got elected. But since then, it's calmed down a lot in America, I feel like, and things are like shifting. Things were shifting really far to the left, but now things are shifting more to the center. And I just feel
Okay.
like people are respecting each other's opinions a little bit more. And like now people can really see the radical left for what they are instead of that being like the norm, if that makes any sense.
Okay, yeah. Like, why do you think that feeling has changed? Because for me, since I've been back, I look at the news, and it seems like the only thing they want to talk about is how horrible Trump is, and all kinds of like trying to frame him over things.
Yeah, I mean, Orange Man is definitely bad, and you definitely hear about Orange Man bad every single day if you turn on the TV. But I don't know, maybe it has something to do with what's been going on in my personal life also, but also in university, I noticed that like now that Trump is president, everybody has kind of had to deal with it and deal with the fact that like there are people who really do think along those lines and support.
Oh, okay,
So they are like maybe realizing that that's an opinion that people actually have and that it's a legitimate enough opinion that he's president.
okay.
So maybe people are starting to realize the different mindset.
So when Obama was president, more like the way that I felt at my college in California. You're in college in New York, similar climate, I think, social climate, and they would say, that there's no room for thinking anything but far left thinking, and they indoctrinated us and tried to brainwash us and teach us that things were true that are not true. They're stupid ass opinions, and teaching us about toxic masculinity and things like this, like it's some kind of fact when it's just some piece of shit that they made up.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. And that definitely still happens to a large extent, I think, in universities. But I've seen more professors like be more open about liking Donald Trump or being like centrist or right leaning since he got elected. Like I feel like since he became elected, people kind of have the courage to come out and be like, hey, you know what? Like this is actually really stupid. Whereas when Obama was president, it was like going really far to the left, and it was like that was like the cool thing to do
Yeah.
because I feel like the president is like a role model for the people, so they want to like go with who the president is, and they're influenced by that as individuals.
Okay. So during your classes, if you were to do something like, say, I support President Trump, like what would happen?
So I've actually done it and I've written
Okay.
essays about it and
That's
stuff like
very
that.
bold. That's very bold of you.
It depends on the teacher though. You got to read the room, you know what I mean? Like I've had like I'm a philosophy minor and I'm in business school, right? So I've had some philosophy classes where it's like no way. You got to like you have to like bow down to Karl Marx or you'll definitely get like a C.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in the business classes, a lot of professors actually respect Donald Trump. And you could write an essay about, like, I wrote an essay about how Donald Trump was a great businessman and his real estate empire, and like his, his faults and his victories. And I got an A. So in New York.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually experienced that too, Elon, where I would be in my class, and there were certain classes where if I didn't just make up bullshit that I didn't think, they would give me like a failing grade. So I
Yeah.
had to like literally like lie and make up bullshit in order to pass the class and say their liberal stuff back to them. And it was like unbelievable.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like you know exactly what they want to hear, and like if you just say it, then they're happy. But you can't say anything else, or else
It's mind control and thought control.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's definitely like, in America, we definitely have a lot of that thought control. And I think in Thailand, like we were saying, they don't really have that so much. Like people seem to be able to think for themselves a lot more. And I found that like when people think for themselves, they don't really think about a lot of this toxic shit that's like shoved down our throat in America. Like we think we're thinking for ourselves, but we're really just reacting to the endless news cycle and just like constantly being enraged about something. Even being on the more libertarian side, you still constantly get triggered by like these like memes of like far left people and be like, how could they be so stupid, and like getting upset. But when you live in Thailand, like you just don't care, and like that frees up your mind so much.
Yeah. Well, okay. So in Thailand, I definitely do follow the news in the West. I follow it closely, but you're right. There is more of a, I just don't care though. It's like you're observing, like, it feels like you're observing a bunch of idiocy from a distance and not participating in it.
Yeah, because you also don't have to actively engage with people who will challenge you on this and be like hating you and like attacking you in person as you're just trying to talk about your opinion in Thailand, because like nobody really cares, and you can wear your MAGA hat and not like fear for your life, you know what I mean, or just like do whatever you and say whatever you want, and nobody was going to judge you so harshly like they would in America.
Well, the last 3 days at night, what I did when I came home from doing my work was I rewatched the presidential debates. I watched episode 1, the second debate, and then the final debate, and each one was 2 hours long. And I have one thing to say, and that is that Donald Trump is the most bold man on earth. Okay, he was saying things like, literally rip the baby out of the womb. 9 months pregnancy. Do you remember that? He said that. Literally.
No, he's a savage. I mean, everything he says is just.
It's just, he just says it, and it's like it's shocking.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we're all about, like, with your YouTube channel and just with everything that we've been interested in, since we met and even before that. It's just like that radical truth of just like saying what you think. And like, yeah, do we have toxic masculinity? Are we wrong? I mean, it doesn't really matter, because we need to be able to speak our truth in order to get that feedback from people and to see what is really true. You know what I mean? And if you can't say that an abortion is at 9 months is ripping a live baby out of the womb, then you can't actually approach it from a realistic perspective of what it is.
That's what I thought. What you said about just saying things like it is, and that being like what has been how I've thought about how I talk about performance-enhancing drugs, steroids, and not covering up things in bodybuilding. Yes, that is exactly what Trump is doing a similar way, but it's with mainstream politics, and it's almost scary because the reactions that these extreme left-wingers are going to have being presented with those things straight up.
I mean, dude, the truth is scary, and like it reminds you of when you were like documenting everything that happened with your leg. I'm really glad you recovered, but like, as you're documenting that, it was really scary, and I'm sure it was scary for you and scary for other people, but at the end of the day, like that's the truth. And like if you choose to go down that path, you might have to deal with something like that, and it really happened, but then you came out of the other side and you're okay. But it's like, we as like people who follow you know a lot more about the situation and about steroid use and about just the whole thing in general. We know the real hardcore uncensored truth, whereas somebody else might cover it up, and then other kids go and do it, and they don't realize that other people are going through something like that also. So I think it's just really important to be able to put the ugly truth out there about life. And if people try to censor you and like hate you for doing that, it's just really unfair to the progression of humanity, because people are going to do things that are dirty and bad, and we need to just like be able to talk about it in order to deal with it in a positive way, I think.
You have really interesting insights, Elon. The way that you talk about things, it's it makes me feel open-minded, and I want to hear more of what you have to say. Um, can I hear some more about you were telling me that you like the state of where America is going. What kind of things do you want to see as far as uh, the people and how they behave in this country in the next 10 years or something?
I just think that right now there's a huge gender divide like between men and women, and like we can't see eye to eye at all. And I think that something that we need to understand, I think that there needs to be more people realizing that like everybody thinks that there's like a male privilege, and that as men we have everything figured out already and we're like trying to oppress other people. But I think what people don't really realize is that masculinity is like really up in the air right now, and we haven't really defined it in a healthy way, I feel like, which leads to people having like men have dysmorphic body issues, men have like self-esteem issues, and men have all these different issues that lead them to act out and do things like, catcalling, or even so far as like to sexual assault and like things like that, right? So I feel like the root cause of a lot of the problems is that as a society we're made to feel like insecure, and we're not allowed to be healthy in a way. Like they're just trying to push you down and repress who you are, whether you're a man, a woman, or like anybody really. No matter what you want to do, they just want to put you in a box and like push your mind down, right? Not let you open up to the world and to the reality of who you are. And then you're just pushed back so much that you act out. And that's where like a lot of the big problems are happening. And I think a lot of Trump supporters are acting out right now because they've been repressed for so long and unable to share their opinions. And like that's not right, but we need to just be more integrated and understand each other better.
Okay, yeah, what you're saying actually, I've noticed that since I've been back in America from being in Asia, that there's a pushback. And I started actually noticing this while I was in Asia, because people would come, especially men, would come from European countries, and they would tell me, every single one of them, especially from Sweden, would tell me how much they hated the social culture of their country and had to get out of there and take a, that's why they would be in Thailand, would just be to get a break with it, and they were disgusted at their culture and the way that their country had been treating them.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think I actually had a really close friend there from Sweden that was in the Muay Thai gym with me, and he said the exact same thing. And I think, like, as a guy who's more masculine, you would be more likely to go somewhere like Thailand where the women are more feminine. So you have that polarity. But in the US, you feel like there's not really a place for you, or like in Europe and stuff like that. And I don't think that alienating the most masculine driven guys who want to succeed is the right way to move forward, because society is just going to collapse, because who's going to be holding it up? Who's going to go to war if there's a war? Who's going to be the top CEOs if every time you try to assert your dominance over things in a healthy way, you just get like shamed for it? So it doesn't really make sense to me that we would demonize like those kind of guys.
Yeah, since you live in New York, I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? I mean, she's about as far left-wing, extreme socialist, communist as you can get. She's literally a self-proclaimed communist.
Dude, it's horrific, and it's horrible. And like if you ask the average person in New York, like they might not agree with what she says, but they would at least think she's like cool and like woke and like on the right track, and not realize that she's completely off base and not in touch with reality at all. And like I think that's just the main problem. I think that she is like not a mean-spirited person, not like an evil person, but she's just not in touch with reality. And like and I feel like in New York, we're not really in touch with reality that much because we kind of just like live in this like liberal bubble. And most people like literally think that if you go out into the Midwest or something, that people are like, like for example, my girlfriend, right? She's Asian, and we went to Dallas, Texas, and like you would think that Dallas has like this reputation for being like a racist place or whatever, and she thought that people would like scream at her in the street or something for being Asian, but then you go there and nobody cares, and like you know, like literally nobody cares, and there's plenty of Asian people and everybody's fine. So like I feel like people have this idea that Americans who support Trump are like really racist or something, and some definitely are, but I think that most are not bad people. And like I think in New York we're just disconnected from that.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? People who support Trump are not racist, and they're not sexist. That whole thing is a smokescreen. It's a smokescreen. By concentrating on these social issues like this instead of the real issues like Russia and China are going to be, they're building up their militaries. They're building up, they're being aggressive in territory. We have North Korea and Iran doing nuclear weapons. And these are the real things. You know what happens when nuclear weapons get launched? Cities are destroyed. New York is obliterated in seconds. Los Angeles is obliterated in seconds, and we all die. Okay, and it's not. It's as much as everyone thinks that these things are like really far away or something. No, they're actually not. It's been like a 40-year or 60-year break since we've had major wars. Okay, but other than that, in the course of humanity, it's been major wars and major death. And there's some kind of stupidic lull right now where they're trying to say, oh, do not spend money on the defense budget and try to have a not strong leader. I think it's a conspiracy to switch the world powers. I think this whole left-wing propaganda, socialism shit is just the recoming of communism with China and Russia taking over the world.
I mean, I don't know. That's definitely a radical take. I can't really say, but the reason that I like Thailand is because it's a place where you don't have to worry about any of this stuff, and it's always been a neutral place, and it wasn't even involved in World War II. So like I
Yeah,
want to be there in case any shit pops off, and I that's the whole thing. Like when you're in America, you worry about this sort of stuff. You know what I mean? And you deal with people constantly who are either worried about destabilizing the government or they're worried about going to war with other countries and other countries coming and infiltrating and stuff like that. I think it's healthier as an individual to just worry about making as much money as possible because America is number one, the best place for making money. And that's true. So you can make connections here, you can leverage jobs that have really high income here. So I would say that my opinion is the best thing to do is just make the most money you can and take it somewhere where you know that you'll be safe. You know your family will be safe and you know that the social climate is at least not gonna explode. I mean, I don't know. Thailand also isn't the safest place. I mean, the world is not a safe place at the end of the day. So
yeah,
you
yeah.
just gotta watch your back and try to amass as much power as you can so you can really make a difference. Just hope that they don't elect people that take everything away from you before you can do it, you know?
Yeah, because I mean that is a lot of the fear right now. Is there's just redistribution of wealth, but yeah, Thailand is a pretty safe place because it is neutral. You've got Laos, which is a communist country up north, and then you got Vietnam, which is also a communist company to the east, and then you got Thailand, which was an American stronghold for launching planes and bombers onto Vietnam during the war. So they've still got American military presence there in Thailand.
What do you think? So you came back to the US, so you're dealing with people and living life in California. California is a really liberal place. So what's your take having come back?
How do I feel since I got back? How I feel is that I'm still feel the same way that I am in Thailand, okay? And so I do not give a fuck about political correctness and all that stuff, and I'm shocking people left and right, okay? Shocking them. And it cracks me up. It cracks me up, man. Yesterday, the parking attendant, when I was parking my car, he said, he was a Mexican dude, and when I was walking away, he said to me, dude, what's the secret? How do I get big? And I said to him, training, diet, and steroids. And and he was shocked, man. And he goes, but they're expensive though, right? I go, yeah. But he wasn't expecting that. And then, I'll say something about, like comment on, someone's a gay dude or like a Mexican dude or a black dude or whatever, I'll just like say it, because most people are like silent about those topics. Like they can't even, or I guess if you're white, it's like you can't say it. And so people will look at me when I'm just commenting, on reality and just saying things. They'll just be like in total shock.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, you're a pretty out there guy, though. You're not afraid to say what you want to say and like live life by your own terms. Like I remember even when we were in Thailand, like the way you would approach people sometimes, like you just like do your thing and then like people respond to you and like you're cool with whatever you get back because you put out whatever you want to put out. So you don't have any regrets. You know what I mean?
That's exactly right. So yeah, I feel like a little like missile here in America or something.
Yeah, but America, it's. I used to have a lot more negative preconception of it than I do now. I think in America, you just got to surround yourself with the right people. If you like constantly go out and meet new people and you live in a place like New York and California, you're probably not going to like most of the people you meet. But if you make like a really strong social circle where people share opinions with you and stuff and you can chill with them, it's like anywhere else, I mean, it's not Thailand because Thailand is just so great. You can meet a person and they'll be so nice to you and they'll be like accommodating to you. Dating in Thailand is just like awesome. Like, what do you think? How have you seen the difference with the girls in America from the Thai girls?
Well, it's different, but they're more forward actually because girls like bodybuilders. We all know that when you've got a physique that stands out, girls like come after you. So they're more aggressive here in America than they are in Thailand.
Really?
Yeah.
Like on Tinder and stuff like that?
Yeah, just in general. But the thing is that when I was in Thailand, I was more interested in like, especially when I first was there, like having like notches on the belt. And at this point, that's not something that means anything to me anymore. So yeah, it doesn't really matter to me.
When I came back from Thailand, I was like, I don't think I could go back to dating American girls. Just because the way that I was treated over there was completely different, like that polarity and them like actually taking care of you. Like I always tell my friends when they ask me about it, the story where like I took a girl back and then the next morning I woke up and she just cleaned my whole room while I went to the gym. And like,
Yeah.
like that's the type of shit they'll do. And people say like, oh, it's because they're poor and they want you to buy them a visa or whatever. But this girl was not poor. She was just a random girl. That's just how they treat people over there. Like she drove me around in her car. She had more money than me when we were in Thailand. But that's just how they're raised, So when I came back, I just
good people, nice people, good people.
And in America, it's all like, oh, what could you do for me? Like sort of thing. Like they would never do something for you out of their own, like without even knowing you really, just to be nice and to make a good impression. Like that's just not how our culture is here. So like, I don't know, for some reason, I couldn't click with any American girls that I met. And like my girlfriend right now is not from America. She's from Singapore. So I never ended up actually dating another American girl. And I don't think I ever will because like they're just like they're just not as nice.
Well, you're a smart man for that. You'll be happy for a long time because of that.
I try to take a logical approach, and I want to move. And like when I was in Thailand and I spoke with Vigorous Steve, the guy's a genius. Like the guy's really smart. And we like talked about a lot of stuff, and he just like basically boiled it down for me, like how he made all his decisions. And like he seems like a guy who really makes his decisions based completely off logic. And that's why he's been able to put together a life where like he doesn't have to worry about any of that stuff. He has his wife, he's happy, he gets all farm grade shit, and like he's built like a thing around himself where he's insulated from all this bullshit going on outside, and he can just focus on doing his thing. And like it takes a lot of conscious effort to put that together. So right now my plan is to just try to like filter the bullshit out so I don't have to worry about like getting hit by like a missile or like any of that stuff. Or like who's president. Ideally I wouldn't care, but it's nice when it's somebody you like.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I agree with everything you just said, and that's what I'm striving to do too. I'm right now. I Yeah, that's exactly. We're on the same page. All three of us are on the same page mentally. All
That's
right.
awesome.
Yeah. So we're gonna cut this one off here, and then we're gonna have you back again soon, Elon. Thank you for taking the time to do this phone call, and yeah, thank you, Elon. Peace,
Sure,
bro.
dude. Thanks for reaching out. Peace.